I don't understand. I mean, maybe you can explain to me as an American. Uh, do they not have any sense where this might actually lead? Have they forgotten the fact that Russia has the world's biggest nuclear arsenal? If you push Russia to the corner, what's going to happen? I mean, do they not think about it? Does Victoria Nuland, does Anthony Blinken, does the Biden administration not understand Jens Stoltenberg, the head of NATO? Do they not understand where they're leading this conflict to?
They know exactly where they're leading it to. And this is where they want to lead it to. And I'll tell you why. There are some people behind the scenes. You never hear their names in public, but like Ted Koch, people like that. And then you hear the other ones like Blinken. You hear Vindman, who's kind of out in the outer skirts. But there's advisors that are close to the president that truly believe that a limited nuclear war is possible. And I have sounded the alarm that they're going to attack probably in the spring, and they're going to go for Crimea. Now, I have colleagues that are vehemently telling me that will never happen, never happen. I've had 2 colleagues tell me that. Absolutely not. That'll never happen. And I'm telling you right now, guaranteed in the spring, they're going to try to go for Crimea. And I hope I'm wrong, but I've been right every single prediction I've made thus far. And I don't like being right because I've seen this escalating and I've called it every time. And because this is what's going on behind the scenes. Behind the scenes, they're making a shitload of money. They don't care if they wipe out a little bit of humanity because they're elite. 1. 2, they really truly believe their own propaganda to the point where they think that they can do a limited strike and that there will be no consequences. Or if there is, it'll be in Europe and not in America. And I think that is an error. And I think that is, unfortunately, there's a couple of people that have a lot of power that think in those terms. And, you know, Anthony Blinken is sort of the front person, if you will, Jake Sullivan and them that kind of talk about the policies that are happening. But really behind the scenes, you have people that are pulling the strings and calling the shots that are, this is what they believe. And they believe.
And Biden is the perfect person for that, isn't he? I mean, he'll just say anything. He'll just say anything that they write on those little cards for him that he carries all the time. He's not there, is he? I mean, a good friend of mine always said, the lights are on, but no one's home. You know?
I mean,
it's scary.
An elderly man, but he's also got obvious signs of dementia. Let's just face it.
Obviously.
It's not a rumor. I mean, you can tell dementia, you can tell when the lights go out. But half the members of Congress
when he falls asleep.
Yeah, and you look at the Soviet Union, they're doing a comparison of that time. I remember all the old leaders right before the Soviet Union collapsed. Look at Rome right before it collapsed. This is what we're witnessing is the slow collapse of the empire. Now it's going to take probably 5 years if we don't have a hot war. If we have a hot war, I don't know what will happen because I know one thing, it won't be limited. And,
no.
Putin said in his interview with Oliver Stone, when asked, he was asked directly, what if there was, a nuclear war between the two powers? And he said, no one will win. No one will win. And he's absolutely right.
Yeah.
Is that the leaders in America and Great Britain don't mirror that sentiment. They don't say that. They
think they're too far away, don't they? They're too far away from Europe. They're too far away from Asia. They don't think the weapons, the rockets, the intercontinental ballistic missiles will actually reach the United States. But I mean, they don't understand that they will. They will reach you. They will reach your houses unfortunately, I mean, if they actually lead us to it, they will reach those houses in Virginia. They will reach Washington. They will reach LA. They will reach everywhere.
Or there could just be an escape, right? I mean, you know more about the actual intricacies of the weaponry, but there can be an error that can lead to this, right?
Of course. I mean, a couple of decades ago, we did have an incident in which the captain, the commander of a Soviet nuclear submarine, had a false signal that said that the Soviet Union is under attack, and he is supposed to launch all the missiles and attack the United States and most NATO targets. he refused to carry out those orders. But I mean, it's a prime example of an error, because right now tensions are so high that you can't imagine. The the Belgorod submarine, the Russian Belgorod nuclear submarine has gone black. And what that means is that nobody actually knows where it's located at the moment. And it is a doomsday submarine that can attack any part of the world at any given moment. And that is
Wow.
scary. So we've got the Belgorod that has gone black. We've got Russian hypersonic missile systems that are maneuverable at during hypersonic flight. These weapons are not, you cannot counteract those missiles. Nobody can. The Russians can't, the Americans can't, nobody can. But the Russians have these missiles. The Americans are way behind the in the hypersonic missile race. And I mean, that's a fact. We Americans had a lot of failures in those in the development of those systems, but the Russians haven't. Uh, okay, the Americans have very powerful anti-air defense systems. That's true, but who wants to risk all that? Who wants to die in a nuclear winter? Why risk that? For what? For Ukraine? For democracy? For freedom? I mean, I think the Europeans and everyone in the West, in Asia, everyone should focus on their own countries.
Yeah.
You know, focus on your own democracies, focus on your own freedoms. You know, as if there are not enough problems at home. Just look
Well,
at,
you heard me talk at the top that I thought that this recent thing, I wrote an op-ed about it that RT posted, and that was that I thought that this was America's way to off-ramp the funding going to Ukraine. But I don't think it necessarily means they want to move towards peace. What I think it means is kind of like what happened before in the gap between 2014 and 2022. I think that the US wants to draw in and spend more money on military buildup. And I think that they have their eye on Russia, but they also have their eye on China, unfortunately. You have Jake Sullivan, who, like, if he had his chance, we'd be already at war with China, right? I mean, you've got some real hawks in this administration. So,
oh yeah.
yeah. So, what are your thoughts? You've heard my opinions and you've read them, but like, what are your thoughts about where we go through the winter and into spring? What do you think is happening now? Are we headed towards perhaps some sort of negotiated peace, or no, or just long drawn out winter?
So my opinion at the moment is that the election cycles are coming very soon, even in Poland. Now, I don't know if I mean, of course, you've seen President Duda of Poland saying we cannot go on helping Ukraine. It's a drunk man full of weapons. We cannot go and help Ukraine all the time. We've got enough problems of our own. As you know, this is a very big change in rhetoric for Poland. That's one of the most anti-Russian countries in Europe, and we're seeing the same thing in America. We are seeing that they're trying to distance themselves from this conflict, because they understand that no amount of weapons that they supply to Ukraine, no amount of money that they supply to Ukraine, it is not having any significant changes on the battlefield. The front lines have frozen, basically. They're just sending Leopard tanks, they're sending the Bradleys in, and they're all getting destroyed. Millions of dollars of American taxpayer money funded weaponry is just being destroyed against Russian defense lines at the moment, because those lines have actually frozen. They won't change. So what? So I think, I don't know if you'd agree with me on this, but I don't know when this whole flow of weaponry will actually, start slowing down. The Russians have a very powerful production system. They're making millions of shells. They're making hundreds of tanks a month, a year. Sorry, 200 advanced tanks a year. They're taking out many tanks out of storage and upgrading them every single month. So they have a very, very good supply system. I don't know how long can NATO support this war. America can support this war. I don't know. But when they do understand, okay, this is not going anywhere and we cannot bear this burden any longer of this artificial conflict. I think they might actually sue for peace, but that it would be, but that is so, but I think it's so far away. We're no way close to it.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I hope that we're both wrong in our predictions, and I hope that there is some sort of movement. But you're right; it just and we just don't know. We can't tell. I mean, so many things can happen. We'll
There's so
sort of
many variables in
so
this
many.
whole situation.
And, you've got Poland, you've got other countries that are in the mix that have their own ideas, and yeah, it's really going to be interesting, an interesting but long winter. I did.